Hey everybody, Rosematter here, and welcome to part 11 of my Great Ace Attorney Chronicles Let's Play. The last episode, just as we finished one case, we are thrown right back into another case. This time, surprisingly, we're not dealing with a murder, but an attempted murder, and the suspect is actually a fellow Japanese. We'll say he's quite the character. But the most important thing is that we are going to get to see Herlock again, which I'm very excited about. In the meantime, we met up with Iris again, the little girl from the end of the last chapter. Turns out that she lives with Herlock and is the one behind all of the stories about him. So I believe we last left off. I think we're about to hopefully see Herlock soon. We're going to continue on with the investigation. I'm just excited to see my crazy detective boy again. I miss his beautiful face. So anyway, we're going to get back into it. We're going to continue on with the investigation. We're going to see what happens next. It looks as though the police are still here, carrying on with their investigation. Oh yes, first though, we have to go see the inspector and give him what seems to be a bribe from Iris in order to get access to the lodging where our client was when he was arrested. Perfect. Let's go find Inspector Gregson as quickly as possible. Yes, and let's see if he'll take a break from his chips to look at that silver tip Iris gave us for him. Now, can I actually examine the area around here? This is what I wanted to do. Hee hee, what a delightful snowman. I didn't realize the English had a tradition of making snowmen as well. It looks a little creepy, though. Oh, it has a scarf, look. You'd need one if you were out in this freezing cold all the time. I wish I had one. I'm afraid our budget is somewhat frozen at the moment, too. We certainly can't afford a scarf because we stayed in that incredibly expensive hotel. Surely the snowman here wouldn't miss his. But the person who made the snowman certainly would. Yes, I know. You're right. Anyway, even if I borrowed it, it wouldn't do much to warm my neck, would it? It's covered in snow. This patch of pavement must be where the incident occurred. Yes, it's a very wide open space, isn't it? That's true. I can't see anywhere an attacker could have been hiding. Oi! What are you foreigners doing here? That's my attempt at an English accent. That's the best you're gonna get out of me. Ah! Oh, we were just investigating the scene officer conspiring with that mustached fellow from Japan, are ya? Conspiring? Come here to destroy evidence, have ya? Get out of here before I give you an Iden. Iden? A hiding, I guess? Go on. He shoot us away like rats. Yes, we should give him a wide berth, I think. What a disappointment. What a disappointing experience. Go steal his bobby hat. Come on. His retribution. Oh, that's a Scotland Yard carriage. They use vehicles like that to rush to crime scenes and cart away criminals. You're very well informed, aren't you? She's like, of course, I'm Susato, I know everything. It's long been a dream of mine to ride one of those through the streets of London. Well, just pick up a stone and throw it through one of the windows then. But that would mean being arrested in order to ride it. Wouldn't it? Still, if it's the only way, help me find a good stone. No, steal a bobby hat. That way you can check off 2 things off your bucket list. Wear a bobby hat and go in one of the carriages. No, 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 no. I wasn't serious. That's one of the officers from Scotland Yard. The police are making sure the crime scene is undisturbed. I have a feeling if we wander too close, we'll be clapped in irons. I think perhaps you're being a little overcautious. We've done nothing wrong, so we have no cause for concern. Oh no, I'm not getting caught out again. Twice is enough. Twice I found myself in handcuffs despite not knowing a thing about what was going on. Yes, you've had some dreadful experiences. I'm sure it's that wide-eyed look of panic you're so prone to. It does you no favors at all. Ugh. Alright, I suppose now we can probably actually talk to Gregson now. Oh, right. Instead of talking to him, we will present him with. Inspector Gregson, do you have a moment? I'm sorry to say I don't. I'm a very busy man. Much too busy to talk to a pair of foreign gababouts, that's for sure. We have these for you. A present from Miss Iris Wilson. What? For me? From her ladyship? Her ladyship? Give that here at once. Come on, hand it over. That's for me. Don't wait for me to give it to you, will ya? What was that coin exactly? It's a silver crown, obviously, but it's a lot more than that. It's, well, it's an appearance fee. That's what it is. An appearance fee? Oh, I see. You mean... That's right. For the adventures of Herlock Sholmes. Her ladyship always offers me a little financial reward for featuring me, every time. Okay, so it's not really a bribe, it's compensation. Yes, yes, of course. I know all about your exploits, Inspector. I read them avidly. Of course, her using my name without my say-so does make me the butt of a lot of unpleasant jokes. But still, I am sorry, Inspector. That must be difficult for you. Never you mind that. So, what do you want to know then, eh? Sorry? Tell the gentleman in black whatever he wants to know. I trust that won't be a problem, it says. Well, obviously it's not a problem. Go on, fire away. What do you want to know? Well, if you wouldn't mind, Inspector, we'd very much like to know the address of Mr. Natsume's lodgings. Ah, the little knife-wielding, mustached Japanese fellow. He lives in a right old hovel. It's just over there. Look! On the first floor of that house in the corner where that wreck of a bicycle's propped up. Oh, something obviously happened to that bike. That is nearby indeed. If I remember rightly, the landlord is a Mr. John Garadeb. Right, well, if you see her again, you make sure you give her ladyship my regards, you hear? I mean it. You tell her that Gregson sends his very best wishes. Obviously he's not a fan of Herlock, but he likes her. Don't worry, Inspector. We will. For someone who doesn't like to be featured in those stories, he seems to like her quite well enough. Goodbye for now, then. And long live her ladyship. Like, not just likes her, he, like, it seems like he almost, like, worships her. Well, at least he told us what we wanted to know before he left. Yes, so then, shall we go and see what we can find in Mr. Natsume's lodgings? I bet Herlock will be there, definitely. But first, I want to examine this bike. This bike immediately has got me interested. Oh, a British bicycle, look. Although, the wheel is so misshapen, I'm sure it couldn't possibly be ridden anymore. Someone must have been doing some breakneck cycling. It seems bicycles have become extremely popular in London recently. There's even a movement to change women's dresses to allow them to ride as well. The bicycle fad won't last. I don't see why anyone would want to ride something like that. Goodness, do you dislike bicycles? No, not at all. I mean, it's not that I dislike them exactly. It's just that any occupation that involves taking both your feet off firm ground seems reckless. If you'd ever tried walking on stilts and fallen into a river, I know you'd agree with me. We'll have to hire a bicycle sometime. You can sit behind me while I ride you around. She's like, you are useless. I gotta do everything. That's a rather typical old brick building, isn't it? I'm sure it has a long and interesting history. Well, time certainly seems to have taken its toll on the place. It's crooked and sagging all over. In fact, it looks in decidedly worse shape than the other houses around here. According to Inspector Gregson, that's the house where Mr. Natsume has lodgings. Just across the road from where the incident took place, I see. It must be awful for Soseki-san getting caught up in something like this in a foreign land. There are piles of snow that have pavement here and there, but the road itself is covered in carriage tracks. It seems carriages often travel down Briar Road. It soon disperses all the snow. I slipped over when I was walking down the pavement earlier. It seems like it would be far safer to walk on the road instead. Oh, but you're rather small, Mr. Naruhodo, and dressed all in black. I worry coachmen might not see you, and you could be flattened by horses. Well, thank you for the rather small concern. Alright, alright. Oh, well, we'll check this part out here, then we will go inside. Oh, look at the windows of that building there. Oh, the windows. That is... So somebody may have seen something from the windows. In fact, it's highlighted. Are you sure they're windows? Oh, but it's bricked up. Oh, they're all filled in with bricks. Oh, you're right. I wonder why. Perhaps it's an empty property where nobody lives at the moment. I have a feeling that's gonna come back. There's smoke coming from the chimneys, though. Oh dear, everything still feels very foreign. There's so much we have to learn about this place. Okay, now we're gonna go ahead, and I really hope that Herlock will be here. I'm sure he will be. Probably hanging from something or hiding behind something. May I help you? Ah, yes. Would this be the residence of Mr. John Garadeb? Okay. Is that like an anagram? That's a strange, like I look at it, it feels like it should be read backwards. But I don't think backwards, I don't think that's a word either. Let me spell that out and see. Whenever there's a strange name like that, I'm like, okay, it's some sort of pun or an anagram or something. Okay, yeah, backwards it's Bedarag, which makes even less sense. Indeed, it would, sir. And who may I say is calling? My name is Ryunosuke Naruhodo. Mr. Naruhodo is representing Mr. Suzaki Natsume. I believe he takes lodgings here. We would very much like to ask him some questions about our client. One moment, please. I shall convey the message to Mr. Garadeb. Did you see that, Miss Suzato? That was a real-life English maid. I know. As I understand it, anyone of standing in English society employs a number of household staff. But that was the first time I've ever seen one in the flesh. Oh, this day keeps getting better. It certainly feels like we've really arrived now, doesn't it? We need only meet a butler, and the experience will be complete. Well, I'm not sure if I'd go that far, but I understand the sentiment. So, Guy's obviously a decorated soldier of some kind. Thank you for waiting. Mr. Garadeb will see you now. This way. Alright, there's a lot to examine here, but unfortunately no Herlock, it seems like. That looks like a Medal of Honor, and it's showcased on a very grand manner. Yes, it's displayed with some pride, I would say, although it bothers me it's not straight. I think it's because the walls aren't straight. What, that old thing? Sorry? I should be glad to see the back of it, but the general would turn in his grave if I disposed of it. The wall's the best place for it. Keeps the bally thing out of my way. So it's just been polished to shine by accident, I suppose? There appears to be an inscription on the medal itself. Look. Let me see. It says, for distinguished participation. Sounds like the kind of honors even I could be in line for. So apparently back then they had participation medals as well. Well, one doesn't like to blow one's own trumpet, but I was given that for my time in the army. Can't measure an officer by the number of medals to his name, of course. Common knowledge in military circles. That uniform looks fairly ancient, doesn't it? It's clearly been well looked after, though. That old thing? Puh, not much better than rags, really. Oh? Wore that ceremonial garb at my retirement to bash, you know. But I'm not one for dwelling on the past. Me. Would have gladly thrown it out, but you know how it is. Anyway, doesn't hurt to have the old piece of memorabilia lying around, does it? Oh, I see. Perhaps we should leave the past in the past. I love it. He's just like, ugh, this old thing as he has it on full display. Alright. Humble brag much. That's a full-size cannon. What's it doing here? I like that there's just a dress hanging off of it. It's like people who have their exercise bikes and basically just use it to hang clothing, except for him, it's a cannon. Oh my, it's real. I thought it might be a replica. That old thing? Puh, that's little more than a toy. Sorry? The army was selling it off when I retired, so I decided to give it a new home. Never know when the enemy might attack next. Jolly useful to have a cannon about the house. Really? It isn't overkill? Be prepared, I always say. You never know what this twisted world is going to throw at you next, boy. Do you think there may be trouble brewing, Mr. Garrideb? Always is. Take Joan here. Never fails to have a clean apron in reserve. Dries them over the barrel, you see. They dry very well in the cannon there, Joan tells me, which rather proves my point, I feel. It's been reduced to a drying rack. No wonder the huge cannon looks like it's hanging its head in shame. That portrait of Mr. Garrideb is glaring at me, I swear. Have you noticed that all the little frames contain photographic prints of Mr. Garrideb as well? Yes, and there seems to be a statue of a lion on the mantelpiece as well. And artillery shells as well, it looks like. Ah, yes. Seemed to come back from the local pawnbroker with that little trinket. Seemed to come back? What do you mean? The chap who runs the place is a bally wizard. Went in to sell him something and came out with that thing. Point of fact, now I think about it, I rather often find myself leaving the place with something I don't need. Lion ornament certainly does seem surplus to requirements. Susato-san doesn't pull her punches, or her throws for that matter. Good day to you. John Garrideb at your service? Pleased to meet you, sir. This is Ryunosuke Naruhodo. He's a defense lawyer. Do excuse me not getting up. Took a shot to the knee a few years ago in the Battle of Maywand, don't you know? Earned a medal for my pains, but had to withdraw from service. Handed over the reins to the up-and-comers. So he's a retired soldier. It's a hell of a job getting up and down stairs now, I can tell you. Don't get out much, as you can imagine. Yes, it's quite a climb up here to the second floor, isn't it? I was panting at the top of the stairs. You really must take more exercise, Mr. Naruhodo. Do you think so? Well, Mr. Garrideb, no doubt you were very courageous to earn yourself a medal. Oh, it was nothing. The medal's just a folderol, really. Wouldn't like to offend the general, though, so I grudgingly displayed it on the wall. Why don't you fetch it down, Joan? Let these good people see it properly. Joan, fetch the— Ugh! Dash it all, woman, be careful. Oh, dearie me, I do beg your pardon, sir. You jolly nearly took the skin off my hands. I shall be more careful, sir. So anyway, there you have it, living the quiet life now. Yes, I see. Now then, I hear you want to know about the chap lodging downstairs, is that right? Yes, we would be very grateful if you could answer some questions for us. Only too pleased, naturally, especially if it helps to keep the peace here in Blighty. We forged an alliance with the Empire of Japan recently, as I'm sure you're aware. So this case is very much in the public eye, as it were. Oh, is it? It is, yeah, it's funny. The first one was an English woman in Japan, and now we have a Japanese in England. Even had some famous detective poking around, you know, in this old house, would you believe? Please tell me he's still around. Yes, Mr. Herlock Sholmes. Could have been. Didn't catch the chap's name. Not really my cup of tea, all that detective business. Oh, but you have a copy of Ranced magazine here, so... No, Anyway, chap's investigating the foreigner's room as we speak. Yay! So he's in Soseki-san's room. It's a bally nuisance is what it is. The whole neighborhood's twitching its curtains now. I don't like all this fuss. It's jolly unsettling. About Mr. Natsume then, Mr. Garrideb. Please do tell us. Yes, the Japanese chap. Only been lodging here for a week. Oh, just 1 week? So he moved in very recently then. I have 2 lodgers most of the time, one on the ground floor and one just below us. The first floor room became available a week ago, you see. There'd been— Ugh! Dash it all, Joe, do be careful. Oh, my goodness, I'm terribly sorry, sir. If you want to know my opinion, I thought he was a shady sort from the moment I set eyes on him. Oh? Why? He seemed to have a most nervous disposition, always shaking and looking over his shoulder. The man had shady written across his sweat-soaked brow, if you ask me. I said to myself, Joan, that man is trouble. Sooner or later, he's going to do something untoward. And I'm rarely wrong about anything. We won't be calling this maid as a witness, that's for sure. Was there anything else that struck you as suspicious about the man at all? Yes. Oh, yes, indeed there was. And she's dying to tell us. Had you noticed anything else at all about your lodger, Mr. Natsume? Oh my word, yes! The man was shadier than an orchard. She is so gonna be put on the stand by the prosecution, I'm sure, and she's just gonna blabber on and on. Could you elaborate? She just seems like the type to gossip. Well, take the man's room. Absolutely stuffed full of books it is, more than anyone could read. And he never so much as passes the time of day with another living soul. I haven't seen a single visitor call. Well, he's only been here a week. Give him a break. He just trots off to that old book shop every single day and comes back at 5 to light the gas fire. And the funny little man is up long past the time everyone else in the house has gone to bed, too. Oh, I see. The gentleman on the ground floor goes to bed at around 9 each night. But I'd never known that Japanese fella to retire any earlier than 2 in the morning. Ah. Could you clarify something, I wonder? What, pray? How do you know so much about Mr. Natsume's routine? Oh. I'd understood that neither of the lodgers live on this floor of the house. Is that correct? She's just a little snoop. That's right, yes. They're both below us, on the first floor in street level. Why is he sweating? Then how is it you know so much about the lives of your lodgers? The precise times they come back in the evening, for example. Even the times they go to bed. Ugh! Good grief, Joan, be more careful, woman. Oh my goodness, sir. I'm terribly sorry, sir. Something doesn't add up here. It seems the incident took place at around 5 in the evening. Did you happen to look out the window at around that time? The window? Okay, so they have a window here, obviously, but the windows from upstairs are blocked off. Yes, we noticed that the window over there looks out over Briar Road. The incident took place on the pavement, just on the far side of the street. Was there anyone suspicious loitering nearby? 5 o'clock is dinner time in the Garadeb household, so I'm afraid I don't remember seeing anything. How about you, Joan? No, sir. It would have been dusk outside already at that hour. And with the fog as well, I should think it would have been quite impossible to see the other side of the road. Oh, I see. Did you notice anything else out of the ordinary, then? Such as? Anything at all, even if it seems unrelated. Well... Yes, was there something then? Well, it's nothing particularly significant, but around that sort of time here, like, For the love of God, Joe, watch what you're doing! Oh, dearie me, what have I done? I'm awfully sorry, sir. Do be more careful, woman. Like I say, this Garadeb is very, he's very patient to have not fired her by now. Of course, sir. If I may, Mr. Naruhodo. Oh, yes? I have an exceedingly good memory, and as far as I remember, nothing of any significance took place here at that hour. Nothing at all. It's like she was trying to shut him up from saying something. Oh, really? Mr. Garadeb? Yeah, it's like he wanted to say something, and she's like, shut up, shut up, shut up. The way you were talking before, it sounded rather like there might have been. Oh, well, as I was saying, it was just a trifling matter, really. Nothing of... Just, yeah, totally doing that on purpose. Joan, dash it all, what is the matter with you, woman? Begging your pardon, sir. Nothing happened. Yes, quite. Nothing happened. We sat down to a quiet, uneventful meal. Joan? That's right, Mr. Garadeb. What is the matter with these two? It sounds like something happened here in this room on the evening of the incident, but what? I wish I knew. Could you tell us which floor Mr. Natsume's room is on? Why, certainly. Just below us on the first floor. And Mr. Sholmes is investigating there, even as we speak. Yes, told me not his name had asked him to look into the matter, so I gave him the key. Mr. Natsume had engaged Mr. Sholmes' services? That's a blatant lie. Would it be alright if we also had a look around? In Mr. Natsume's room, I mean. Don't see why not. It's just down one flight of stairs. Who knows if we'll find anything that could help us with the case, but we have to try. We need all the clues we can lay our hands on, shall we? Yes, and while we're there, we could speak with Mr. Sholmes again. Perhaps he'll be able to tell us more. Alright, I know Susato is excited to see Sholmes, and so am I, but I feel like I did not finish in, like, there's more to look around and see, so let's go ahead and do that. There's, like, this whole section here. Look at that enormous screen. It must have been put there deliberately, surely. It certainly seems like someone's trying to hide something from view. What could be behind it, I wonder? I'm going to have a very quick look, just a little peek. Ahem, ahem. Maybe let's not, Miss Susato. I think the maid is going to head us off with a cup of tea. Ahem, ahem. This window looks out over Briar Road where the young woman was attacked. Oh, yes, I can make out the policeman on the far side of the road investigating the crime scene. The glass is rather murky, isn't it? You can't see very clearly. Is this thing open at all, I wonder? I shouldn't underestimate the bitterness of a London winter, sir. Sorry? As soon as you open that window, the tea will freeze in the pot. No Londoner would go opening windows at dusk in the middle of winter, I assure you. It seems very unlikely these two would have seen anything of the incident then. Oh, look! What a wonderful collection of cakes lined up on that gleaming silver cake stand. I love how everything is all topsy-turvy, I'm assuming because the building itself is warped. Lined up. It looks more like someone has half demolished them to me. Afternoon tea is a time of indulgence, you know. It is quite the English way. It is Mr. Garadeb's custom to take 2 cakes with his tea. That sounds delightful. Oh, wait a minute, though. There are at least 10 cakes on this cake stand. Well, naturally, it would never do to waste the leftovers. So, whatever Mr. Garadeb doesn't eat, I say to myself, Joan, you shall have to tidy up. How... oh my gosh. Magnanimous? I know that's not like an old-timey word, that's an actual, like, word. Magnanimous of you? Bleh, English is a troubling thing for me sometimes. This old candle holder looks a little out of place here, wouldn't you say? Yes, you're right. It's clearly supposed to be gold, but it's almost completely black for some reason. That old thing, yes. Just a cheap piece of ironmongery. Gimcrack, really. Used it when I was studying, don't you know? For my commission. I know it's old. Hardly worth hanging on to, really, but, well, still has its uses sometimes. Of course. Does everything in this room have some elaborate story behind it? They're memories, Mr. Naruhodo. Memories. Alright, here we are. We get to see Herlock again. Oh, there's a kitty cat! He's probably gonna pop out of like a pile of books or something. What? Just look at this place. And smell it. It's so musty in here. I suppose it's the mountains of old books that are responsible for that. I don't think I've ever seen so many books in all my life. No, me neither. It's so dark in here, too. Is that The window over there? Well, it was the window, I think, yes, once upon a time. But for some reason it's been closed up with bricks and mortar. So this is where Mr. Natsume lives. By the way, I haven't spotted Mr. Sholmes anywhere, have you? No, that's true, but according to what Mr. Garadeb told us, the great detective should be around here somewhere investigating. It's just a matter of time. He's gonna pop out of somewhere. He's gonna scare the shit out of us. Alright, let's examine. It seems like there's probably gonna be a lot to check out here. Look at all those books stacked up there. They almost reach the ceiling. They're all works of English literature, and they all smell so musty. Well, having a window that is walled up and a cat in here certainly would not help the smell, I imagine. With this volume of books to hand, you'd never be short of reading material, would you? No, what a dreamy idea. A bad dream, maybe, for me at least. Mind you, I don't imagine the book that's at the bottom of the pile now will ever be read again. Ah, so reading, it is an experience that comes but once in a lifetime, just as the tea ceremony teaches us. I certainly didn't expect the conversation to turn down the path of tea ceremony philosophy. Check out this cat thingy, and then we'll check out the actual cat. Oh, look, it's a beckoning cat from home. No mention of the actual cat. It's a bit big and bulky, isn't it? Surely Mr. Natsume didn't bring that Maneki Neko all the way from Japan with him. I hardly think you're in a position to comment, Mr. Naruhodo. Are you forgetting the enormous Daruma doll that you brought in your luggage? Well, it can be dangerous traveling abroad. I wanted a lucky charm. Well, I imagine Mr. Natsume wanted the same, and this cat is sure to beckon good luck to him. It hasn't worked out so far, has it? Yeah, it's not doing a very good job so far, is it? Get out of my head, Ryunosuke. Get out of my head. You mustn't say such things. I didn't say a word. Why are my eyes such a giveaway? No, she can just read minds. Like, that's canon. Aww. So many cats in this game. Sholmes is gonna probably pop out with the cat. Oh my, what an adorable little cat. Perhaps he's looking after all the books while his master is away. I don't know about that. He disappeared into that pile of books as quick as a flash. It was a tricolor Mike, wasn't it? Do they even have that sort of cat here in Great Britain? Perhaps Mr. Natsume brought the little creature with him from Japan. That's made me feel homesick now. Is that a cat that's... Because I think of that like a multicolored cat. Aren't those calicos? Is that a cat that you could only have in Japan back then? Already? We've only been in the country for 2 days. Could you even call this a window? I think so. It was a window at one time after all. Although all that remains is a frame around some bricks now. So really, it's just a wall then, isn't it? But why would anyone deliberately brick it up like that? I'm afraid I have no idea. Oh! Perhaps Mr. Natsume painted the brick design on it in a fit of whimsy. That's alarmingly feasible. Anyway, whatever the reason, the lack of ventilation in here makes the place very oppressive. All I can think of is the ammonia smell from cat pee. It does. I imagine being cooped up in a room like this would be extremely trying. Where are you, Sholmes? You're in here somewhere. I know you are. It's just a matter of time before I find you. Okay, something was able to... There we go. Look at all these balls of paper on the floor. There are notes scrawled all over them, in English. It looks like the waste paper basket is so full they've just fallen out. I think Mr. Natsume must have been deeply immersed in his research, don't you? Or deeply averse to tidying up his mess. I wouldn't like to speculate which is closer to the truth. And having the candles here, having the candles with all of these books, that is a fire hazard waiting to happen. And the window is blocked off, so he can't even jump out of the window. He can't, oh, this is all so very dangerous. I guess, rental places were a lot more lax back in the day. That desk seems to be wedged into a crevasse between the mountains of books on either side. Crevasse? Crevice? I suppose Mr. Natsume would sit there and read while stroking his cat. But surrounded on all sides by these towering old tomes, surely he dreamt of books every night as well. Yes, he must have done, mustn't he? Oh, what's this? It's a receipt from a second-hand bookshop. Your books. Oh, yes, Mr. Natsume's name is on it. Look, and the date of purchase. Oh, 2 days ago at 4:45 p.m. That's the day of the incident. That's just a short while before he was embroiled in this in the terrible attack. He must have been on his way back from buying some old books. There he is. There's my boy. There's my boy. Hello. I missed you. Ah, look, Mr. Naruhodo. I'm imagining that Sholmes was just hiding behind that pile of books. He's like, okay, I have to find like the coolest way to appear and just look really nonchalant about it and just like I don't even notice that they're there. He's all about appearances. Ah, there he is. Where did he appear from? He seems to be engrossed in the pages of an old book. I hope he won't mind if we disturb him. Hello, Mr. Sholmes. Ah, you two. Good day. Now, let me see. Where was it that we met? Oh, Mr. Sholmes, we were together on the SS Burya. Yes, of course, the Burya. And let me see, what happened on that voyage? It was Kazuma Asogi. He died, tragically, but you were a great help to us. Ah, yes, but of course, the case of Mr. Asogi. It was the one with the snake, wasn't it? Oh, well, you seem to remember something of it, at least. What an honor to be remembered vaguely by the great Herlock Sholmes. This is Mr. Oh, no, my dear madam, hold your tongue. I pride myself on my superior powers of recollection. Your names are safely recorded in my brain attic. Miss Naruhodo. And Mr. Susato. Try the other way around, Mr. Sholmes. Ah ha ha ha, I lose the first round. In truth, I had hoped to invite you both to my Baker Street suite the day we arrived in London. But some Scotland Yarders ambushed me at the railway station and whisked me away to a crime scene. It was an entirely trivial case, of course. I solved the matter in no more than 30 minutes. They apprehended Soseki-san in that short an amount of time? I'm afraid the pursuance of a new case has dulled my recollection of my past involvements a little. A little? It is a mistake to think that one's brain attic has elastic walls and can distend to any extent. I'm gonna call my brain my brain attic from now on, like my memory. I do my best to forget useless facts, lest they should elbow out the useful ones. Yes, those are my own words of inimitable wisdom, you know, from an adventure entitled A Study in Scarlet. Please, there's no need to quote yourself. I don't always remember my pearls of wisdom, but fortunately, my associate pens them beautifully. He means Iris, I suppose. Mr. Sholmes, we have some extremely important questions to ask you about the trivial case you just mentioned. Goodness, what an earnest expression. My dear madam, I should be only too pleased. This murky room is an apt place to discuss the murky case. We know this to be the lodgings of a Japanese foreign student by the name of Soseki Natsume. It seems that you assisted in his arrest, Mr. Sholmes, for the stabbing of a young woman outside here on Briar Road. Natsume. Yes, I believe it was a name rather along those lines. But Mr. Natsume denies it. Was it really justifiable to arrest him on so little? I'm sorry, Mrs. Otto, but I have not the slightest idea of what you mean. What? I can't believe he was looking Susato-san squarely in the eyes while feigning ignorance. I assure you, I'm not merely feigning ignorance. It would appear as if the pair of you are under some misapprehension. Oh? How? I assure you, I have no recollection of accusing your stooped compatriot of the crime. But that doesn't make sense. The good detective of Scotland Yard made the following request of me, and I quote verbatim. We need you to ascertain the identity and whereabouts of a man seen fleeing the crime scene. Oh, he didn't say anything about him being the culprit. Ah, a man seen fleeing. There were a number of books scattered on the pavement at the scene. From the book plates, I was quickly able to determine the bookshop from which they had been purchased. On speaking with the proprietor, I was immediately led to this address. Elementary, would you say? I believe there's a receipt around here somewhere from the establishment in question. So you don't think Mr. Natsume is the culprit, then? That I could not tell you. But it was aggravating my facilities, hence why I returned here. Or faculties? Oh my god. Oh, I'm struggling here. However, this place is such a trove of fascinating books, I found myself quite lost in bibliophily. Do not be deceived into believing I am a man of leisure. No, no, no. Oh dear. Tell me. Have you encountered the landlord of these lodgings? Yes, Mr. Garadeb, a retired military man. It was the first time I've ever met a soldier from the Great British Institution, that is, the services. And it was the first time I've ever met a maid from the Great British Institution, that is, service. Ah ha ha ha. I didn't think it was that funny. I do apologize. As you may well be aware, many households in London employ a maid. Yes, I read as much in my Great Britain primer. And so, conversely, whether or not a household employs a maid has come to betoken the social standing of those dwelling therein. Betoken their social standing? Sorry? Put simply, my dear fellow, those who employ at least a single maid are considered middle class. Those who do not are beneath that. In the upper echelons of society, of course, households employ enough staff to constitute a large family. Goodness, how extraordinary. As you can appreciate, for those on the precarious boundary between the middle and lower classes, being able to afford just one maid is of the first importance. I had no idea. And it is for precisely that reason that I find great stimulation in the situation upstairs. Specifically in the retired army veteran, Mr. John Garadeb. Oh? Affable as he is, the fellow is hiding something. Whether or not it imposes on the circumstances of the case, I am as yet unable to ascertain. I'm thoroughly lost on what he means to say. This room is thoroughly suffocating for the soul, my dear fellow. I assure you, any man whose lot is to dwell in a place such as this will stab somebody sooner or later. Mr. Natsume has stabbed no one. Ah, but sooner or later, as I said. I don't believe that's the issue here. About this dark little room, Mr. Sholmes. Why is there no longer a window? Do you have any idea? No window? Well, I mean, I can clearly see there is a window, of sorts. But it's been completely blocked with bricks. Ah, I see. The answer to that question is quite simple. Window tax. Window tax? What is that? Surely, not a tax on windows. Precisely that. Well, I think... Don't they have in Britain, don't they have, like, you have, like, a TV tax? Like, you have to pay a fee to have a TV? So, somehow a window tax doesn't seem that weird back in the day. Oh my goodness. Until relatively recently. Is it a tax or a window? It's like some sort of... It's like a fee you have to pay, from what I could be completely wrong, but I feel like I've heard that before. Until relatively recently, a tax was levied on households in this country by the number of their windows. Those of lesser means, having inherited a sizable and costly family house perhaps, rapidly closed windows up. While the rich opened windows here, there, and everywhere, in an effort to curry favor with those in power by furnishing them with large sums of tax money. How awful and unjust, forcing people to live in rooms devoid of light. Indeed, disease was rife as a result. So some 40 years ago or thereabouts, the window tax was abolished. but its legacy remains, as you can see, in squalid lodgings such as these, for example. I suppose Mr. Natsume's stipend for living here in London isn't very generous, perhaps. It would appear so. I've done a little digging, and discovered that these lodgings were offered at an extraordinarily low price. Because the room is so awful, I should think. Apparently, Mr. Natsume only moved in here about 1 week ago. Yes, that's correct. However, I don't believe the low rent is explained by the shabby nature of the accommodation. Oh? Still, that is of little relevance here, a matter not worthy of further attention, which means it probably is of some more relevance than we think. Are you sure? I'm curious now. Well, I believe I've told you all I can now. Thank you, Mr. Sholmes. Ah, yes, Mr. Naruhodo. Was it not your intention to become a practitioner of law? You remember that, did you? Will you perhaps be offering your services in this very matter, I wonder? To the occupant of this room, Mr. Natsume, was it? I'm not sure. Not sure? On what grounds? Well, I actually defended someone in court here only yesterday. Really? Well then, I congratulate you, sir, on an ambition realized, and so promptly, too. The thing is, it's really made me question things. Am I right to believe in my clients? To trust in their innocence? Yes, trust. Mr. Sholmes. Mr. Natsume didn't do it, did he? Ha 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 ha. My dear fellow, I haven't the first idea. Oh, but I thought that's why you were here. Didn't you come back to investigate? Ah, yes, that was indeed my initial intention. But there are simply too many fascinating books here. I couldn't possibly ignore them. Oh, I see. Nevertheless, there are 2 facts I can state quite unequivocally. The man who fled the scene of the crime 2 days ago was the Japanese occupant of this room, and there are witnesses who swear to having seen the same man commit the crime. That is all I can say. Ah, one more thing. Oh, what is it, Mr. Sholmes? Tell us. I cannot say with any certainty whether or not it is of relevance to this case, but I am quite sure that the retired army man who owns this property is hiding something. Mr. Garadep is? Mr. Sholmes said as much before, actually, didn't he? Anyway, at present, that is really all that plays on my mind in relation to this case. Mr. Naruhodo, as yet our investigations have uncovered nothing that could help establish Mr. Natsume's innocence. No, you're right. Perhaps it's time we probed a little deeper into Mr. Garadep's secret. Just remember, I cannot be sure whether the landlord's secret will prove to be of relevance or not. But I wish you every success, of course, Mr. Naruhodo. A busy man indeed. He's gone back to his book in the corner of the room. Well, is that it? Really? Come on. Come on, we gotta hang out with him a little bit more than that. It'd be so cruel if it was just like a callback, like, oh, there he is, and then that's it. Come on, we gotta work together. Come on. Are you gonna come upstairs? Talk to the landlord with me? Let's go. Come on. Excuse me, Mr. Sholmes. Yes, so true. To be or not to be. That is indeed the question, Mr. Naruhodo. To be or not to be brushed off, that is the question, and the answer is all too clear. Let's leave Mr. Sholmes in peace, shall we? Alright, is there anything else? If not, I guess we have to go back upstairs and do a little bit more questioning. Alright, that seems to be everything. Okay, so I guess we'll move back upstairs then. Ah, you pair again. Tell me, was the detective chap, I forgot his name, still hard at work down there? Mr. Herlock Sholmes? Ah, yes, rings a vague bell. All that detective business isn't really my thing, I'm afraid. Well, Mr. Sholmes is in his element down there. Jolly good show. Another cup of tea if you please, Joan. Now then, why don't you tell me what... ah! For the upteeth time, woman, will you watch what you're bally well doing? I shall be serving dinner shortly, sir. Yes, of course. Frightfully rude of me, but I'm afraid I shall have to ask you to take your leave, if you'd be so kind. It's like Joan knows that we're gonna question him, and she's just like, hinting at him, like, don't say anything, kick them out. Oh, yes, of course. We are deeply grateful for all your assistance. Assistance. Not at all, not at all. Don't get too much chance to talk with young foreigners like yourselves. It's been a pleasure. Best of luck and all that. Perhaps you could see yourselves out. We're not gonna get away that easy. We're not leaving that easily. According to Mr. Sholmes, Mr. Garadeb is hiding something. And since no other avenues of investigating seem open to us at the moment, perhaps we should do some digging. Oh, wait. Something popped up over there. Let me see. There he is. I thought so. I love this guy so much. What's he doing over there? The two of us are going to talk to Mr. Garadeb together, aren't we? We're going to tag team and we are going to figure this out. Mr. Sholmes. Aha, we meet again, my dear fellows. Good gracious, when did you sneak in here? Herlock Sholmes, sir, at your service. Whatever were you doing over by the window? I'm given to watching the evening skies as the sun sets, madam. Yet sadly, cheerful as the room downstairs undoubtedly is, it lacks an aperture for such observation. So I took the liberty of borrowing a small quarter of space by the window up here. Well, keeping an eye to one's window at dusk is the prudent thing to do in London, I'm gathering. And one other thing, Mr. Naruhodo. Oh, me? I thought perhaps you might be in need of a certain great detective's great mind. Wait, he's not talking about... Is he... I didn't expect to be going through that again so soon. Oh, I can't remember what the like mini-game is called, but I love doing it. Do you mean Mr. Sholmes? Like the deductions? There is a mighty secret in this modest room. My eyes see even the most trivial of trifles. I take it you're prepared, Mr. Naruhodo. I think so. There is just time enough for one of my greatly admired great deductions. Let us conclude the matter before dark. Here we go. Yes, I miss these. Mr. Garadeb, though it would seem you are a military man of considerably distinguished service, your standing as a landlord is most certainly not what one might call first-rate. I'm afraid, sir, that is all too clear to me. There are two conclusions I've been able to draw by careful observation of your living arrangements. I beg your pardon? The first is that even as we speak, you are concealing the presence of a ferocious beast in your care. Eh? And the second is that as a result of the beast's violent rampage, you have lost something very dear to you. Mr. Naruhodo, look! The old man's broken out into a cold sweat. Unbelievably, it seems Mr. Sholmes' conclusions are both spot on. How? How could you possibly? How could I possibly know, you mean to inquire? The answer couldn't be simpler, sir. For in the dense jungle of logic and reasoning, I am the king of beasts. And I know only too well that wild beasts are not easily tamed. So, shall we begin? Once again, Herlock Sholmes is proud to present Logic and Reasoning Spectacular. Nature of the beast. It certainly shouldn't take a great detective to see. Oh, that a fearsome beast has been on the rampage of late within these four walls. Thus, we are faced with the question, what form might this beast take? Oh, he's looking over at something. Ah, for a man with a military breeding, your eyes are uncommonly candid. Your furtive glance, Mr. Gardev, leads us directly to the answer. The true nature of the beast that has run rampant here is revealed by that lion statue. Yes, though an army man, you appear unimposing at best. A fact that has fueled your admiration for the mighty lion, the king of beasts. What is this piffle, I ask you? In the end, your admiration became so great, in fact. Oh my god, I was gonna say, what? That you had a living, breathing specimen shipped from India, which you've tried to keep in this very house. What? Wait, was that like a hand? Did you see the side of his face? It looked like there was a handprint there. Maybe he got into a fight with the... I've already forgotten his name. I'm like Sholmes. I've lost the name. The guy that we're gonna defend. Yet living with such a wild beast proved more difficult than you would imagine. Or maybe it's Joan. The chilling traces of a wild rampage are still very much in evidence. Well... Yet, as we look around, the beast in question fails to present itself. Where could this angry creature have disappeared to? Madam? Me? I pray you do not consider me unchivalrous, but it's plain to me with one glance in your direction. It is? Your dress pocket gives us a handsome clue as to the beast's current whereabouts. For protruding for it is a handbill advertising a circus show. There's something hiding behind that curtain there. Not the curtain, but that thing, that blue thing there. Yes, you sought to dispose of this terrifying lion, Mr. Gardev. At Batty's Circus, a traveling show currently sojourning in a nearby park. I have observed the tents. You sold the savage lion, sir, to the circus troupe. I most certainly did not. I believe I've made my points. The fearsome beast which ran amok in this room was an Indian lion. And a simple visit to the circus now will reveal the lion prancing jubilantly through a ring of fire. Now, time for me to go and correct all of that. Alright, topic 2, the aftermath. Now, Mr. Gardev, it is plainly clear you still have deep feelings for this formidable beast. Yeah, you see he's kind of clutching at his... Oh, maybe Joan isn't his, maybe it's his wife? Or his girlfriend? Not... Because you can see he's clutching at his cheek. And he says he has deep feelings for the beast. Indeed, in that blithe pose, the distress this loss has caused you is veritably tangible. I could be totally wrong, like he is. Your head weighs heavy on your shoulders. The pain you feel being revealed by that supporting arm. No, it's his cheek! Amid fits of tears, you let your beloved beast go. The strain of losing something so dear to you is clearly visible in your visage. Nonsense, man. I simply... It might not be Joan at all, it could be someone completely different, but what we must ask ourselves is the true cause of this pain. She's looking... It almost looks like he's looking at the T, and we need only follow the direction of your gaze to find the answer. Oh, yes, it's this pile of bills that has given rise to the pain you suffer. No, it's that book. It's like a diary, I'm sure. Every envelope contains another demand for payment. And that's maybe why he was saying it's weird that he has a maid, because, like, maybe he's not middle class or upper class. Maybe he can't afford a maid. For cartloads of meat, potatoes, wheat, and tea. Indeed, feeding your beloved has had a devastating impact on the financial circumstances of your household. And so you had no choice but to let it go. Yes, well... Now, in a final fit of rage, the ferocious beast carried out one last unimaginable attack. Unimaginable? Oh, the aftermath of which can be clearly seen by observing the carpet over there. Oh no, there's like a candle. That's a fire. It got burnt. A very expensive woolen carpet, if I'm not mistaken. Oh, dearie me. I wonder if she knocked it over, because she's obviously pretty clumsy. What could have caused such a destructive outburst? Oh, it was him? Ah. This time, madam, I'm afraid it is you who has inadvertently revealed the truth to me. Your wandering eye has settled upon the answer very neatly indeed. Or she's looking at the candle. Yeah. Yes, to explain the dire state of the carpet, we need only look at the Tower of Cakes. There's no creature more dangerous on this earth than a beast with an unsatiated appetite. Was it or was it not once said by a certain noblewoman, if they have no bread, let them eat cake? Food is at the heart of all tragedy, in fact. Whatever do you mean? Having tired of the taste of cake, the beast began to stalk its next prey. I'm sure I need not spell out the nature of this final act of destruction carried out by the beast. There's only one logical conclusion. Worked into a frenzy by hunger, the lion attacked and ate the carpet. The teeth marks in the carpet are a perfect match with those of a lion I once saw in India. I could make a joke about carpet munching, and I think I kind of already did, but that would be uncouth. Thus concludes Herlock Sholmes' great deduction of this beastly puzzle. And everyone's gonna be like, what the hell are you talking about? They're just like, what? Ugh! What is the matter with you, Joan? You're pouring scalding hot tea all over me. Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Gairdeb. I'm afraid I didn't notice. My deductions can be startlingly sharp. It stands to reason your cup runneth over. Indeed, my revelations can make people spill tears at times, too. Oh. Mr. Sholmes? Sorry to butt in again, but could I make an observation? Why, certainly, Mr. Naruhodo. What is it, again? Well, your deductions just now. Do you really think a lion could have fit inside a room of this size? Indeed, it's the only explanation for the facts. The terrifying truth all too often lies beyond the realms of common sense. But wouldn't it be an idea to consider what lies inside the realms of common sense as well? But if an uncaged lion had run amok in this very room, surely Mr. Gairdeb and his maid would have been hurt, or worse. Ah, that's where you are stuck. No doubt the former military man held his own against the beast using that large cannon. I thought you said that they sold the lion to the circus. And what about the food? Meat and potatoes are one thing. But I don't believe I've ever heard of a lion that drinks tea. Ah, my dear Miss Usato, it occurs to me with some regularity that irrespective of the race and breeding, whenever anyone lands on Great British soil, they are infused with a highly appropriate taste for afternoon tea. Oh, what a glorious notion. Well then, Mr. Naruhodo, it's your turn to shine again. I had a feeling that was coming. A slight massage, that's all Mr. Sholmes' deduction needs. You can do it. Excellent. I've been waiting for my trusty partner in deduction to step forward, Mr. Naruhodo. We don't even know yet whether or not this is going to help with Mr. Natsume's case. Still, uncovering the truth is always worthwhile, whatever the motivation. At least, that's what I want to believe. Let us start again. From the beginning of Herlock Sholmes' Logic and Reasoning Spectacular. Alright, so we're just gonna skip on ahead. Alright, so he's looking at something over there. Let's see. I really didn't see the lion thing coming. I don't think any of us could. No, but if you observe Mr. Gairdeb's reaction, it rather seems as though some beast did indeed run amok here in this room. Was it that little kitty cat downstairs? Was another kitty cat causing a problem? Something with a very fierce nature. But it couldn't have been a lion transported from India. So what was it then? We must follow Mr. Gairdeb's gaze. That will lead us to the true answer. Alright, let's look around. photograph frame? Let's take a look at what this is. That's Joan. That's Joan. She is the beast. What's this photograph? It appears to be from Mr. Garadeb's wedding. He looks very happy, doesn't he? He does, but you can't make out his bride. No, how unfortunate. Something must have struck the glass directly over the woman's face. I wonder what happened. Probably best not to delve too deeply there. I'll present the bride, why not? The true nature of the beast that has run rampant here is revealed by that newlywed bride, and that's why she keeps spilling tea on him. She's obviously mad at him. Precisely, Mr. Naruhodo. No other explanation could possibly fit. Yes, this framed print pictures your wife, Mr. Garadeb. And while we lament the fact her face is obscured, we can still make out her mighty arms and note the considerable horsepower they must contain. Oh, indeed, surely any woman of such powerful constitution would be honored to be described as a beast. Honored might be stretching a point. Too late, the fact remains the beast, which so clearly savaged this room, was your wife, Mr. Garadeb. The chilling traces of a wild rampage are still very much in evidence. Well, yet as we look around, the beast in question fails to present itself. Where could this angry creature have disappeared to? Madam? Alright, now we'll skip on again. The poor, fragile, defenseless woman is beside herself. Well, I don't know about fragile. Oh, dear. Anyway, Mr. Sholmes is quite right. There's no sign of a Mrs. Garadeb anywhere. But it seems there may be a clue as to her whereabouts. A clue this maid is trying to hide. I wonder where Mr. Garadeb's wife could be. I wonder if she's not wearing her ring. Or, oh, is she wearing? She is wearing the ring. Never mind. Okay. Ah, the wedding ring. There we go. She's wearing a very large ring. Look. Oh, yes, a sunflower design with some rather nice embellishments. And it's on the ring finger of her left hand, which means it's surely a wedding ring. It looks like it's on there for life, too. I can't imagine it would slide off a finger of that size. That's something to think, Mr. Naruhodo, not to say. Do you know Mr. Garadeb's wife in the photograph had a ring very much like this one? It was a large sunflower design as well. Really? You have a great memory for those things. A large sunflower wedding ring. Quite a coincidence they have the same ring, isn't it?
Take that!
Your wedding ring gives us a handsome clue as to the beast's current whereabouts. Indeed it does. That flowery band gleaming on your finger gives you away. For it is identical to the one shown on the hand of Mr. Garadeb's bride in the photographic print. In other words, you are no ordinary household maid. No. You are Mr. Garadeb's lucky bride. You are Mrs. Garadeb herself. Does she dress up like... Does she dress up like a maid to make it seem like he has more money than he does? Because they were going on and on about how, like, the difference between middle class and lower class is a maid. Well, jolly fine detecting, sir. As you rightly surmised, this is the wife, yes, my Joan. That would explain why he let her get away with spilling coffee or tea so much on him. It would appear that you don't live in the most comfortable of circumstances. After all, you are a retired army man, yet you are in the business of renting out rooms. I would assume, therefore, you have insufficient means to employ a maid. Would that be correct? It's not right, I tell you. I was 2nd Lieutenant of the 3rd Regiment. A man has his pride, don't you know? By golly, it's a sorry thing when a chap can't even afford to have a single maid in his employ. Yes, here in London, one is rather judged. A household cannot be considered worthy of society if it employs no staff at all. Though, in my considered opinion, such concerns about appearances are a folly. You mean Mr. Geradev has his wife work as his maid? Precisely. Am I right, Mr. Geradev? Only in company, obviously. But listen here. This must remain a secret. Tip-top secret, please. Now we gotta find out why was she so mad at him. Now, Mr. Geradev. It is plainly clear you still have deep feelings for this formidable. Okay, well, alright, let's skip past this part here. We already know it's the cheek slap. You know, she slapped him and there's a handprint there. Mr. Sholmes is quite something. He's still calling Mr. Garadeb's wife a beast. Yes, as a woman, that feels rather uncomfortable. But Mrs. Garadeb is standing beside her husband as we speak. In other words, he hasn't lost his beloved at all, has he? Oh, how true. So perhaps that supporting arm that seems to be propping up his head has some other significance then. According to Mr. Sholmes, Mr. Garadeb's pain is tangible, though. What could that pose of his really signify? Oh my, look at that bright red mark. Gosh, that's quite something, and clearly made by somebody's hand. Yes, Mr. Garadeb has been slapped on the face, it seems. Hard. I've never seen such a clearly defined mark. Whoever could have done such a thing? Well, there's a very limited number of candidates, I'd say.
Take that!
Your head weighs heavy on your shoulders. The pain you feel being revealed is by that slapped cheek. And, of course, the deliverance of that impressive mark on your cheek that refuses to fade. Was you, Madame Joan Garadeb? Well, yes. Now she's trying to act all, like, innocent. Put on that face. You've been desperate to hide that slap mark on your cheek, sir. How the blazes? How did you work that out, man? Nothing escapes the notice of one trained in the art of observation, my dear fellow. That's why you haven't looked directly at us even once. To keep your other side from view. Well, Now, let us proceed to the next conundrum. Why were you subjected to such a violent slap? Oh, it's because he burned the carpet. Or, no, he saw something... Yeah, something in that book. He wrote something in that book she read. In other words, we must ask ourselves what caused Madame Garadeb to fly into a rage. And we need only follow the direction of your gaze to find the answer. The pile of bills that has given rise to the pain you suffer. Didn't Mr. Sholmes say the bills were all for lion fodder? Yes, but now we've established the lion never existed. I'm guessing she got mad about that, slapped him, started throwing things around the area where the table is. The candle was there, and the candle fell on the floor and lit the carpet. Which can only mean that the thing responsible for gobbling up all that food was Mr. Garadeb's wife. Mr. Naruhodo, she's a person, not a thing. Yes, well, she's also a person who gave her husband a mighty slap around the face. One so hard it left a perfect handprint, handmark, in fact. Yes, why would a woman want to hit her husband with such force, I wonder? I'd love to know the answer to that question. Oh, Ah, someone must be reading this book at the moment. There's a bookmark here. Look, I wonder... Ooh, I wonder if that woman that got stabbed... Ooh, I wonder if that's the woman that Garredeb's been cheating on, and maybe Joan stabbed her. Oh, maybe. Someone must be reading this book at the moment. There's a bookmark here. Look. Mr. Garredeb is clearly an avid reader. Oh, wait a minute. I don't think this is a bookmark. Oh no, so it isn't. It's a note written in a woman's hand. Oh, James, I love you. Yours, Mary. And look next to the signature here. Lip marks made with lipstick. Oh, what a passionate and romantic gesture. Don't get any ideas, Susato-san. Oh dear, I'm sorry. So this bookmark is actually a love note then. And what is the name? Do we have the name of the woman who was stabbed? Can we check that out? We'll check that out afterwards and see. Because that's a pretty big thing if that's, if the woman's name is Mary. So this card that looks like it's being used as bookmark is actually a love note. Yes, reading, oh James, I love you. Yours, Mary. But Mrs. Garredeb's first name is Joan, isn't it? Yes, I believe we may be heading into dangerous territory here. It's very conspicuous after all, isn't it? Right? It's almost like he wanted her to find it. You mean the bright red lips next to the woman's signature? Yes, it's the first thing you notice, of course. And it rather makes your heart skip a beat.
Take that!
Yes, it is this love note that has given rise to the pain you suffer. Oh, James, I love you. Yours, Mary. Passionate, indeed. Perhaps the sender of this note, a certain Miss Mary, is the fly in the ointment here. Gah! But, I don't know the bally woman. You don't know her. That note wasn't written to me. It was just in the book. I don't know how it got there. It was just in there, you say? That's right. That's what I've been saying. Ah! A likely story. Now listen here, Joan, old thing. I explained it at the time. I bought the book at that second-hand place, and that note must have already been in there. So the previous owner of the book was using the note as a bookmark, you mean? That's right. That's what I've been saying. I mean, James is a pretty common name, especially in Britain. A likely story. For heaven's sake, woman, look at the name. It's written to James. My name, in case you've forgotten, is John. Ah! That too. That too. A likely story. Okay, never mind. Are you questioning my name now? And there we have it. Arouse the suspicion of the female heart, and you unleash a beast with the most ferocious bite. Now, in a final fit of rage, the ferocious beast carry out one last unimaginable attack. Unimaginable? The aftermath of which can be clearly seen by observing the carpet over here. A very expensive woolen carpet, if I'm not mistaken. Oh, dearie me. What could have caused such a destructive outburst? This time, madam, I'm afraid it is you who has inadvertently revealed the truth to me. Your wandering eyes settled upon the answer very neatly indeed. To explain the dire state of the carpet, we need only look at the Tower of Cakes. That just makes no sense now. But surely Mrs. Garredeb didn't eat the carpet. She's not a carpet muncher? No, of course not. But there doesn't seem to be any doubt that the state of disarray this room is in is a result of her wild temper. No, that's true. So, this is the last part of Mr. Sholmes' deduction we need to fix. We need only follow Mrs. Garredeb's gaze, and that will tell us the real answer. Alright, let's see what we can see. This looks like a very old candlestick, doesn't it? The base looks too small. Surely it's very unstable. It looks to me like even the slightest knock would make it topple over. Oh dear, that would be dangerous. Wait, take a closer look at this. There's one candle missing. Yes, I didn't notice that before. Why is that, I wonder? Why is one candle of the three missing from its holder? The carpet here has been ripped to shreds, and according to Mr. Sholmes' deduction, the tears match those made by an Indian lion's teeth exactly. Oh, look here. What is it? If you look closely at the edge, you can see scorch marks. Yeah, so you can. In that case, perhaps the carpet wasn't eaten in the normal sense at all. Let's rethink this with that in mind. Okay, I know what the answer is. I was just hoping I could choose the actual, like, candle over there, but I guess I have to pick the candlestick itself.
Take that!
Yes, to explain the dire state of the carpet, we need only look at the candlestick. Most illuminating, my dear fellow, and of course, the only possible way out of this logical labyrinth. Yes, the remnants of a ferocious attack in which the carpet was devoured are clearly visible. Indeed, they are. The scorch marks at the edge clearly give the truth away. Scorch marks? It would appear this room was the scene of a little marital altercation. Mrs. Garrideb's mighty arm muscles left an impression not only on her husband's face, but on the entire room. The force of her strike caused a candle to fall from the holder. And in seconds, the carpet was alight, and the whole corner of the room in flames. Yes, For the most ferocious beast in the world is neither a violent lion, nor nor a vengeful woman, but fire. And in this room, that ferocious beast bared its claws and ran amok. Eloquently put, my dear fellow. So you see, there's but one conclusion here. After the sparks of marital discord flew, this room was the scene of a fire. Mr. Sholmes, sir? I salute you! It's these dashed long winter nights, you know. Nothing to do but read in front of the fire. Luckily, there's a jolly good second-hand bookshop just around the corner. Buy all my old novels there. And in the pages of one particular novel, you discovered some rather illicit material. For which your wife admonished you harshly, it seems. Don't know about admonished. Demolished might be a rather closer to the mark. And beast is most certainly an apt Ah! That one was earned. Here we go again. And the carpet? Was that destroyed by a fire when the candle fell on the floor? Afraid to say it was. Happened in the blink of an eye, you know. The whole place filled with smoke. Couldn't see a bally thing. Was caught between the old stick's rage and the raging flames. You paint a torrid picture, sir. One that would have been most entertaining. That's sympathy for you. Didn't take long for the fire to spread, of course. The bally furniture started going up as well. We've had to hide the mess behind that screen for the time being. Over here, Mr. Garrideb? Well, you have nothing more to hide now, if you'll allow me. Had all my favorite old novels in that case. But as soon as the fire got hold of them, that was it. Whoosh! Up in smoke. Gosh. And the wife started hurling things at me. What a terrible sight it must have been. There was I, backed against the window under heavy enemy fire, incendiary books incoming 10 to the dozen. Worst of it is, I lost my favorite, book called The Lion's Pride. The Lion's Pride. Ah, yes, your notorious love of big cats coming through again. I assure you, the title didn't influence my choice in the slightest. So the poor man really did lose something dear to him as a result of the ferocious beast's rampage. Mr. Sholmes' deductions turned out to be correct once again. It can only be described as a great British wonder. I tell you, it was total carnage. Flames everywhere. The old stick in full fettle. Out of interest, what time of day was that? Not sure I can remember. It was 2 days ago now. Let's see. Alright, so Joan did not kill the woman. That's the reason that they were keeping... You know, she was all like, don't tell them about anything, because she didn't want them to know about, you know, the fact A, she is his wife, and B, that they got into that fight. 5 o'clock, I think. So at exactly the same time as a terrifying incident was unfolding outside your window on the street below. Even more terrifying on the inside, I can assure you. The whole of Blighty could have been flattened outside my window at that moment, and I wouldn't have noticed a dashed thing. Oh, really? Mr. Sholmes. Yes, Mr. Naruhodo. What can I do for you? Well, I think we've got to the bottom of Mr. Garedeb's situation now. But what does it have to do with Mr. Natsume's circumstances? I can't help you there, I'm afraid. What? My dear fellow, if you recall, I did say as much from the outset. I warned you that although I knew the retired army man to be hiding something, I could not be sure whether his secret would prove to be of relevance or not. I just knew you were going to say that. Now, Mr. Naruhodo, you mustn't lose heart. Bear in mind that all things fall into one of only two categories, those relevant to the case and those not. That makes no sense to me. Well, no matter. It is of far greater importance that you make up your mind now. Sorry? Visiting hours at the prison will soon be over. Oh no, is it that time already? If we're to accept Mr. Natsume's case, we have official paperwork to attend to. So that's it. No more time to think. Perhaps you'd like to betake yourself to bidding us farewell now? I must prepare supper for Mr. Garedeb. Oh, yes, I'm so sorry. Well, we didn't get any... It doesn't seem relevant now. It could be relevant later, but nothing really. And isn't the case like the trial tomorrow? Thank you both very much for your time. Saseki-san will be waiting for us, and I'm going to have to give him an answer. It's time, Mr. Naruhodo. We must hurry back to the prison. Yes, I know. Let's hail a cat. Oh. Is it Sholmes doing something silly again? What's the matter? It looks like something's going on over there in front of the Garedeb's house. Oh, well, not Sholmes, but definitely looks like a character. I know thee not, old man. Fall to thy prayers. Who are you calling an old man, you rum-looking niminy-piminy? There are more things in heaven and earth, Horatio, than are dreamt of in your philosophy. Who's this Horatio fellow, eh? What do you want about? Excuse me. Eh? What the? Who are you now? I'm sorry, it just looked as though there might be some problem here. And she's like, do I need to flip some bitches? And my associate here, Mr. Ryunosuke Naruhodo, is a lawyer, you see. Eh? A lawyer? What? If I can be of any assistance, I'd be happy to help. I'm from Japan, but I've studied English law. Tuh. Fine, I'll be on my way for today, but you mark my words. This ain't over yet. Get thee to a nunnery. Do I look like a bloomin' nun to you? Okay. I do hope you're not injured. Oh, fair Eastern maiden, thou art so gentle. Thank you. What was that all about? There are more things in heaven and earth, Horatio, than are dreamed. Oh my gosh, I said it the first time. I said it right the first time. Than are dreamt of in your philosophy. I'm not Horatio either. Forgive the inquiry, sir, but are you a lodger here? In the Garadeb residence? Oh, fair eastern maiden, thou art so right. Yes, I do dwell in this humble abode. It seems like he's a Shakespearean actor, I'm guessing, talking about Horatio. Mr. Garadeb mentioned he had another lodger, didn't he? This must be the man. Is Horatio... That sounds familiar. Is that... I'm looking that up. Is that Shakespeare? I was wrong about the miles and kilometers thing yesterday. Or last episode. So people let me know about that, so I'm probably wrong about... Okay, Hamlet. I was correct. Hey, my high school English classes have finally been of some use to me. Do you happen to know the other lodger who lives on the first floor? Ah, yes, a gentleman named Natsume. Oh, more worthy a polemist in my battle of words, Nerk, could there be? Bleh. Why can't you people speak normally? I'm having trouble reading this. Sorry, battle did you say? Who is this stronger, Hamlet or Macbeth? Mr. Natsume and I sparred long into the night. I see. I don't fully understand, but it seems Mr. Natsume and this gentleman are acquaintances at least. So, fair maiden. So, good gentleman. I can tarry here no longer. Fare thee well. I didn't really understand him, but I think he's returned to his room. It seems he's unaware of what's happened to Mr. Natsume, so he can't really help us. With Soseki-san and that man as lodgers, the Garadep house is certainly full of eccentrics, that's for sure. Anyway, I'll go and find a carriage. Yes, I'm sure Mr. Natsume is eagerly waiting our return. Let's hope we can get to the prison before visiting hours are over. And apparently this guy is based on a real person, an actual, real life person. So this is why I love when you guys comment, because I'm learning things that I never would have known about this game. Oh, it's you. You're here. You came. Locum student, Mr. Naruhodo, Esquire. I can't believe you came back. I'm so touched. We are so sorry to have kept you waiting, Mr. Natsume. Oh, no, so think nothing of it. Relax. If I were a cat, I would purr with pleasure at the company of such fine compatriots. Noble, nurturing, never-failing Nipponese. Oh, now, let's not get carried away. Oh, I quite agree. There's nothing more reassuring than the There's nothing more reassuring than the familiarity, I always have trouble with that word, of one's native land. On the other hand... Hey, Sholmes! It is through friendship transcending international borders that one truly appreciates the fact. Such is my belief, at least. I know he's probably here to, question Natsume, but I like to believe that Sholmes just loves Naruhodo so much he just can't stop following him around like a puppy dog. Oh, yes, ugh, it's you. The miserable, rotten spy. Herlock Sholmes. Mr. Sholmes, what are you doing here? I have no intention of doing anything, per se. Say, observing, of course. Whatever do you mean, Mr. Sholmes? Well, having encountered some curious reading material in that gloomful room, and having unmasked the secret identity of that eccentric pair, I decided I should drop in on my way home to see how our divisive friend is faring. Gloomful room. At least your accommodation here offers a window, my dear fellow. In that sense, it is the superior option. Anyway, I must commend you on your taste in books. My day has been a delight and cost me not a penny. Ah, you! How dare you? Herlock Sholmes. Ugh. I've had it. I'm through. I'm at the end of my rope. I should never have come to Great Britain. It was a terrible mistake. Haunted by spirits in those accursed lodgings. No doubt my luck will be cursed in tomorrow's trial as well. My whole life is bedamned. What are you thinking, Mr. Naruhodo? He mentioned that once before, didn't he? That his lodgings were cursed, I mean. And there is much truth in Mr. Mustache's words. What? Cursed is a wholly appropriate description, I would say, for the man's lodgings, and indeed for tomorrow's trial. What's that supposed to mean? Mr. Natsume, what did you mean by what you just said now? About the trial tomorrow being cursed. Oh no, why? Why are you looking so grave? You're making me nervous. I was just getting carried away, that's all. I didn't mean anything by it. Oh, I see. It's really agitated him. You don't mean the trial really is cursed somehow? Are you referring to the prosecutor? The Reaper of the Bailey? The Reaper? Oh no, what do you mean? Ryunosuke's like, oh, whoops. Please tell me. Summarize it succinctly in 16 salient words. No defendant has ever survived a trial in which the Reaper stands for the prosecution. Ever. Dude, come on. I know you said to tell him, but come on. Oh my goodness. Can it really be true? That was 16 words exactly. Yesterday, Mr. Naruhodo successfully defended someone against the Reaper. But then, after the trial was over, the defendant passed away in unusual circumstances. Mr. McGill did. What? Ah, I'm impressed, Miss Susato. You have an eye for detail. Actually, the Lord Chief Justice told us. Mr. Sholmes, surely it can't be that having failed to have the accused convicted, Lord Van Zieks killed the man himself. Oh no, he couldn't have, surely. Ha ha ha! You have some wonderful notions. Sorry? The man isn't a mass murderer. He's a court prosecutor, my dear fellow. Oh, yes. Why, of course he is. Ah, of course he is? Then why are you trying to scare me? It could be said, however, that the real truth about the man is even more terrifying than your hypothesis. What on earth do you mean by that? Van Zieks is a quite exceptional man. However, in London courts of law, exceptional does not equate to winning every case without exception. Ah, that's good. Sasaki-san looks like he's going to cry tears of joy. As you are no doubt aware, in a British criminal trial, there is both a judge and a jury. The judge officiates based on the letter of the law, whilst the jury offers public opinion and common sense. It is an excellent system whereby the defendant's guilt is considered from several points of view. However, public opinion in particular is somewhat easily manipulated. Right. Criminals, and corrupt lawyers for that matter, can use it to their advantage. By any means at their disposal, contriving evidence, calling impostors as witnesses, and so on. By such underhanded means, those who would want to are able to sway the jury, which means that even in the light of irrefutable evidence, the prosecution can fail. But it means the wrong verdict can be passed. And sadly, it is from time to time, my dear madam. It is simply the reality of the situation. And that's all right. However, those indicted... Oh my gosh, words! Those indicted by Lord Van Zieks cannot escape justice. Their fate is sealed. Oh my. And yeah, they said something about how Van Zieks is like he came out of apparently retirement, and he's taking on cases that you wouldn't expect him to take on. There's obviously a reason for this. There must be a connection. Especially this one, that wasn't even a murder, it was an attempted murder. Though the adjudication may see them leave the courtroom with their freedom, within months, they all disappear. It is most striking. To disappear, but how? Ah, by all manner of misfortune, sir. Perhaps they are trampled under a passing carriage. Perhaps they fall into the Thalms and drown. Perhaps they are suddenly overcome by a raging fever. Or perhaps attacked by highwaymen. Oh, no. All examples of the reality of events here in London, I'm afraid, Mr. Naruhodo. Oh, I knew it. I'm a dead dodo, done for, doomed. When you said accursed lodgings before, you were referring to your room at Mr. Garrideb's house, I assume. Do you mean to say you believe the place is cursed? It's been a year now since I came to Great Britain, but I'd only been in London a week before I started to notice strange feelings in myself. That didn't take long then. Everywhere I looked, there were foreign faces staring at me, laughing behind my back. I was sure people were talking about me. I started to become nervous about going outside. They were always staring at me, all the time, from dawn to dusk. So I shut myself away in my room, but even that didn't help. The fear wouldn't go away. You must have been very lonely, having been away from your homeland for such a long time. I've had to move a number of times, most recently to that room on Briar Road, a week ago now. Yes, why did you choose there? It seems a little inconvenient. The rent is cheap. I have so little money it appealed to me straight away. Of course, I asked why it was so affordable. The landlord just simpered and said, "The room is cursed." Oops! He quickly tried to cover his mistake, but it was too late, so I told him, "If you have something to say, then say it. But if not, don't mention it in the first place." Like the whole thing about, even if you're found not guilty, the Reaper is still gonna get you. Like, they didn't have to go into such detail. It's just gonna freak him out more. I know he asked for the truth, but sometimes you can't handle the truth. Yes, well said. But it was true. It was all true. You mean the room really is cursed then? Ever since I moved into that windowless hellhole, my sleep has been plagued with nightmares. I awake feeling as though I'm being choked to death. That might just be his cat sitting on his chest or something. And in my waking hours, people are stabbed in front of me as I walk down the street. I'm branded a killer, thrown in prison. Nobody wants to know me. I'm surrounded by scary, sinister spirits. If only there was someone, just one person on my side. Can no one find it in his or her heart to believe in me? Really? No one at all? To believe. To believe. He's just basically guilt-tripping me at this point. Like, of course we're gonna take the case now. Mr. Sholmes. Ah, me, Mr. Naruhodo. Pray, what can I do for you? It's about the case on the SS Buria, if you recall. The Buria. Ah, that case. The one with the snake. Well, yes. At that time, I was the suspect, but you believed in me and listened to my side of the story. And you helped us to investigate. I did I? Interesting. What I want to know is, why? Why did you believe me? I see, yes, you mean... Because you were a grimly dressed, shady Eastern fellow found with the victim in a locked room. Well, if you like, yes. I'm a little surprised the answer requires explanation, my dear fellow. It's quite simple, really. You said, I didn't do it. But I could have been lying. Surely you must have had your doubts. You must have suspected me a little. I think perhaps you have misunderstood. I neither recall believing in you, nor in that which you were telling me. What? You see, the only things I believe in are those I choose to believe in. What do you mean, Mr. Sholmes? I make up my own mind about what is to be believed and what is not. If I should like to believe in something, I do. The circumstances can hang as far as I'm concerned. But I could have betrayed your trust. Ha ha ha. In that case, I should have made an elementary error of judgment, nothing more. Betrayal of trust is an overused excuse in my opinion. Meaning? Whether or not one should trust another is, in the final analysis, down to oneself. It is a matter of whether or not one can trust oneself. Yes, he's right. He's right. Locum student, Mr. Naruhodo Esquire. whether or not I can believe myself. A defense lawyer is only as good as his faith in his client. And that comes down to how much faith he has in himself. You were so right, Kazuma. Well, my dear fellows, it is time we were leaving, I believe. Already? Visiting hours are over. The guard will be here shortly to escort us out. There is a restaurant near here that serves excellent trout. Would you care to join me? Oh dear, there's never enough time, is there? Mr. Natsume, if you'd like, in the trial tomorrow, I'd be happy to represent you. Aww. Yes, there's that music. Locum student Mr. Naruhodo Esquire. As I said, I only experienced a British courtroom for the first time yesterday, and although the man I was representing was found not guilty, I lost sight of something crucial. Something crucial? What to believe in? The defendant, justice, or the truth? How to believe, even. But I think I finally worked it out. I've decided I must believe in myself above all else, to trust my instincts. Yes, Mr. Naruhodo. And my instincts are telling me that you, Mr. Natsume, are innocent of this crime. And it's imperative we prove that in court. Locum student Mr. Naruhodo Esquire, I will fight for your innocence until the bitter end with every weapon available to me. So I hope you will permit me to represent you tomorrow. As I said when we first met, I'd like to entrust my fate to someone who will listen to me in my native tongue. Of course, Mr. Natsume. It would be fair to say, Mr. Naruhodo, that your mind was in many ways made up from the outset. You merely needed the evidence of today, or the events of today, to fully realize it. Yes, I think you're right about that. It's been a roundabout journey, but I got there in the end. Miss Susato, yes? Would you be willing to stand by my side tomorrow and help me in court? No, she's like, nah, I'm gonna go have dinner with Sholmes. Absolutely. As I said this morning, you may consider me your personal judicial assistant. I was saying that wrong. Someone corrected me. Thank you. Pretty important word for me to be saying wrong, considering they say it a lot. The shocking events of yesterday's trial still weigh heavily on my mind. But it's time to stop looking backwards. Kazuma believed in me, and Mr. Sholmes believes in me too. So, it's time. Time that I learned to believe in myself. Suzaki-san has no one. He's all alone. So it's my job to help him. To fight his corner. Tomorrow, in the courtroom, with all the strength I can muster. Alright guys, that will wrap up this episode. So, it was good to see my boy Sholmes again. It always just makes the episode that much better, I find, when he shows up. Met some interesting characters, and we're getting to the part that I'm most excited about next episode, which is the trial. I am happy that we actually got to do some investigating. This episode, like, this case does feel like an actual, like, full Ace Attorney case where there was the investigating and the trial. But the trial is always my favorite part, so I am quite excited to get into this. And we're going in with a little bit more information. We're not being thrown in like we were with the last case, where I literally knew nothing about, you know, the victim or the person we were defending or the case or anything. So I feel like I've got a little bit more knowledge, but still not very much. But I imagine a lot more information is going to come out during the trial. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode, and stay tuned next week for the trial of the fourth case. Until then, bye. Special thanks to my top tier patrons: Nana, Sparky, Dumbass Loser, Tequila Mockingbird, Puncake G, Joel Ostman, Harry Gazif, Asborn Kennedy, and Icognito.